Hello and welcome to No Rolls Barred. When we first started this channel, we used to do a whole bunch of essay-style content, one of the series being called Actually Good, where we look back at air quotes classic board games and tested whether they were actually good or just games we'd actually heard of. We don't do the Actually Good series anymore, but that's because Luke doesn't want to do them anymore. Isn't that right, Luke?
I actually liked making Actually Good.
Thanks, Luke. Here's a quick rundown of some classic games that are bad and why. Monopoly, someone wins the game an hour before the game is over. Cluedo, it's possible to roll badly and have numerous wasted turns in a row putting you behind for no fault of your own. Battleships, the start of this game lasts for goddamn ever, just one uneventful move after another. Scrabble, shut up, nerd. Risk, hope you got 4 days to spare. Bet those comedy foreign accents will stay funny for that long. Snakes and ladders, no. See, Luke, can't believe those videos used to take you that long. But Adam, I hear you cry. Since you are the arbiter of fun, what classic games are good? I'm so glad you asked. I'm Adam from No Rolls Barred, and this is a collection starter, and this week we're looking at 10 classic board games that are actually good. And while you're here, please subscribe to No Rolls Barred, and if you're interested, please check out the Actually Good series on the channel. They may not have gotten the same amount of views as some of the other series we make, but they're very good indeed, and even though I make fun, Luke poured his heart and soul into them. Number 10, Othello. The classic game of flying into a jealous rage because your bezzy mate keeps telling you he's seen your bird out on the tan. No, not really. Othello is a game that was apparently created in 1883, which is loads ago, which sees players taking it in turns to put counters on the board. One player is white, one player is black. Is that why they called it Othello? I fear to research such things. Each token is double-sided, with the white player putting down their token white side up, the black player putting it black side up, etc. And the aim is to have more tokens of your color than your opponent on the board when the game is over. But here's the Oliver twist. When you place a token on the board, if it sandwiches any number of your opponent's pieces between your new token and another of yours already on the board, all the in-between opponent pieces are flipped to your side. And this can happen multiple times in a single turn in multiple directions, and it's so satisfying when it does. It also makes the game really swingy. Unlike most old abstracts where you know who's winning well in advance, there's big serotonin boosting reversals of fortune almost every turn. Makes it mega addictive too. Number 9, Jenga. Fun little Adam fact for you. One of the reasons we work so closely with drafts is that I worked at and then was a venue manager at one of their cafes for a year. It was fun and exhausting, and now I really hate Jenga. No, but I really hate Jenga. Tables are made of wood, you see, and Jenga is also made of wood, and when the towers fall, they clatter with the clamour of 1,000 paper cuts across my eardrums, and people shriek with a climax of nervous energy and joy, so much horrible joy, and I hear it sometimes at night. But here's the thing, the reason why people make that noise, that terrible, awful human noise, is because they're invested. Jenga is dirt simple, but its simplicity and elegance of escalation makes it incredibly compelling. It plugs right into a primal part of you. Thing is getting taller and less safe, and soon it will fall down, go boom, and I don't want it to be my fault. It's grim inevitability of death, the board game, even more so than the game of life. And while I hate it so, I can't deny that almost every game of Jenga is bloody exciting and bloody satisfying, and anything of that kind of hit rate has to be considered good. Number 8, Cribbage. Yes, it is a card game, but also it's got a scoreboard, and playing cards plus scoreboard equals board game. And also, if you actually care about the distinction, then I'm going to ask you to leave my house. Cribbage is a hundreds of years old card game which has a method of scoring points called one for his knob, and that's why it's on the list. It's also fiendishly addictive, chiefly because there are so many ways to score points, too many to even slightly cover in this tiny little entry. Point is, you play a hand of 4 cards, trying to be the first to get to 31. During that course of play, there's ways to get points. When all the cards have been played, you sort the cards into who has played what that round, and then use those cards to get points. It's hard to wrap your head around, but it's a wonderfully addictive combination of getting points through smart planning, but also via happy accidents, always making you Jones for one more round. Also, one for his knob. That's terrific. Number 7, Mahjong. Mahjong, the game that only ever appears in movies to tell the audience when somewhere is a front for organised crime. Look at these nans. Where are the bodies buried, ladies? But no, it's a wonderfully tense game that's nowhere near as complicated as it looks. You've got 13 tiles in your hand, and these tiles come in 3 main suits: dots, bamboo sticks, and Chinese characters, and every turn you swap them in a number of different ways to try and create sets called melds, which sounds like a Newcastle insult. You f***ing meld. Melds are either 3 of a kind, 4 of a kind, or a run of 3, like 2, 3, 4 of dot. You win the round by getting a Mahjong, which is 4 melds and a pair. And the joy and tension of Mahjong is what sets you can conceal from everyone else. You want to build your Mahjong in secret so people don't know how close to victory you are. But in order to build some sets, you'll have to declare them, and the temperature just raises up and up and up when someone declares their second meld. Does that mean they have more behind that wall? It is surprisingly tense and cutthroat, which makes sense. Look how cutthroat these nans are. It's terrifying. Number 6, chess. Chess is a game for smart people. It's a visual metaphor for intelligence, like glasses or a lab coat or dyed blonde hair and giant teeth. One light player, one dark. Land on the same square as another opponent's piece, you capture it. You win by putting your opponent's king in a position where it can't move without landing on a square where it could be captured next turn. With perfect information, precisely 0 luck, and no new pieces ever arriving on the board, chess is an entirely skill-based game, and as such, really rewards repeated play. It's a game of awareness, of seeing all the different pathways of all the pieces in front of you to make sure that all your pieces are protected at all times. All of this marks chess out as a deep and accomplished game, but it's also deathly punishing, dispiriting, and it can be tedious when someone unfluent faces a skilled player. It doesn't make the game bad any more than not knowing how to play the trumpet makes trumpets bad, but it does occasionally make me grumpy that people assume that just because I like music that I can play the trumpet, and when I can't, I'm apparently an idiot. I'm not an idiot. Number 5, Stratego. Cue hordes of dads watching this suddenly pointing at the screen. Stratego came out in 1946, just a fantastic year to remind people about war. Great job, everyone. But it's lasted in people's memories being what happens if you stir a handful of sweet bluff into the nutritious gruel of chess. Before the game begins, players will place their pieces, all of them being of different strengths and powers. On your turn, you either move a piece, or if it's next to an opponent's, you can try and attack it. If you have a higher rank than that piece, you remove it and take its place. But if it turns out you attacked a secretly more powerful piece, they scrub you from this existence faster than you can say, oh whoopsie poopsie war. So far, a liar's chess, but there are other powers that makes the game joyously silly. Hidden amongst your ranks are a bunch of bombs that if people attack them, they blow up. You've got scouts that are the only pieces that can move across the map in a single go, but paint a target immediately on their back. Marshals are unstoppable, the highest rank until they run into a bomb or a spy that can knife them in the back. And finally, the flag, a piece you are desperately trying to keep a secret, but you also can't move it, and if the opposition ever finds it, instant game over. So there's memory, bluff, risk-taking all lumped together in a very silly mess of scuppered plans and Hail Mary plays. It's a bit awkward, but wonderful, like your dad. Number 4, Go. Go is like celery. I respect celery, and I understand that getting to grips with the best ways to use celery will make me a more fully functioning adult. I have no idea how to use celery in a way that people enjoy, and it often induces pity in everyone around me. Maybe this metaphor has gone away from me. Point is, Go is a 1,000-year-old game, one of the oldest ever, and it's fiendish. In one sense, it's more liberating than chess because as opposed to the 64 squares on a chessboard, a full-size Go board has 361, giving you so many more options, but that's also overwhelming for people who are less used to the game. See, the point of Go is to control the board, creating groups of pieces that are hard for your opponent to surround, whilst also trapping them into smaller and smaller sections of the board. Not only are surrounded pieces removed from the board for insta points, but also sections of the board that are controlled by an uninterrupted string of stones will score at the end. It is a complex game, choosing which battles to fight and which sections of the board to surrender in order to bolster your position elsewhere takes a deep awareness that can only be forged by countless humiliations. Look at this board. Divining data from that is like staring into the Matrix, but when you have its actually pretty simple rules under your belt, the ruthless elegance of Go really starts to flourish. Number 3, Balderdash. Feels weird to put Balderdash, a game all about bullshitting what random acronyms stand for and obscure laws above a millennia-old, deeply complex strategy game, but that's just how it goes. Hello, I'm Adam, and I enjoy laughing more than thinking. Lovely to meet you. And Balderdash is very, very funny. It's from Drummond Park, the same people who made Articulate, which is another wonderfully funny social game. Each round, one player will read out a prompt. For example, in New Zealand, it is unlawful to ride ... and everyone writes down their own answer. Their answers are mixed up with the proper one, they're all read out, laughter ensues, people get points for either guessing the right answer or tricking people that their answer was correct. It's just fun, intensely social fun. They brought out a fancy new edition, most likely because Cribbage turned up and entirely stole their shit. But as a format, either in game or in panel show form, the format has endured because it's just distilled fun, a combination of obscure trivia, making your friends laugh about New Zealand, and trying to suss out who wrote D's nuts every single time. Probably Terry. Number 2. Backgammon. Backgammon doesn't look great. Despite all these high-end stores trying to put out fancy editions, it still looks like a shark's mouth, or if checkers and Excel spreadsheets had a baby. In fact, it's a fast, mean, and tense game of pieces trying to stampede their way home before someone stamps on their head. Roll 2 dice. You could use those dice to either move 2 pieces, a separate number of spaces, or 1 piece, the combined value of both dice. Let's say this side of the board is home. You're trying to move the pieces around the board the long way round towards your quarter of the board that's closest to home on your side. If you ever land on an opponent's piece all by itself, it's sent back to the start. When all your pieces are in your home quarter, you can roll to remove them from play. The first player with no pieces on the board will win. It's a game that looks like a grandpa, but it's actually someone in grandpa makeup suddenly sprinting and rugby tackling the vicar. It's a fast, sexy little motherfucker. It's also like poker in that it's a game that works okay by itself, but comes vastly more alive when you're betting on it. And number 1, Yahtzee. If you ask me what makes a great board game, and the answer to this question changes for everyone and everyone's right, my answer has 2 forms. It has to have some form of social element, even if that's just tension in the air, and even more importantly, it has to feature difficult decisions. Yahtzee is all difficult decisions all the time. You roll 5 dice, then can re-roll any number of those dice up to twice in order to end with a final, essentially poker hand of dice. You gotta know when to roll them, know when to not roll them. You're pushing your luck trying to achieve hands that score you points, all 5 dice being in a straight, for example, or 4 of a kind. The problem is the difference between an incredibly value set of dice and a worthless pile of nothing often comes down to 1 single dice being wrong. But each round you have to score something, and it's crushing to remove one of your scoring options for the rest of the game because of dice that were almost perfect but are in fact worth precisely jack bupkis. After your first roll, that pressure floods your mind with options and dilemmas. Which of these dice you're going to use, which you're going to re-roll, which is the best collection to shoot for, and when you do actually get the thing that you desperately needed, the tension is balanced with a euphoria that makes Yahtzee crazy addictive, sweet serotonin success being tantalizingly close pretty much every turn. It's an absolute classic and should be in everyone's collection. And that's our list. What's your favorite classic game? Do let us know in the comments. Better not be Monopoly though, and make sure you subscribe to No Rolls Bar for more silly board game content, and never forget to get on board.